Hey guys, Scott Williams, Align Capital here. Hope you are well. Want to talk to you guys about negative leverage today. That's a term that's been coming up a lot the past 18 months or so, and realize more and more lately that not as many folks understand exactly what it means. So wanted to shoot a quick video that helped you guys out on the definition and understanding of it. So negative leverage, as I've defined it, is when every dollar you borrow is depletive to the return you can pay on your equity. And I've caveated all things remaining equal here because there are value add scenarios and scenarios where there's income growth where you need to take into consideration tremendous more information on the deal and potentially do a full discounted cash flow analysis. But specifically negative leverage, at least out of the gate, this is the good definition for you here. So for analyzing this, I'd like to use an element of the cap rate. And so your cap rate will also be your unlevered return if no debt is used. So for instance, if you buy a deal at a 6% cap rate, all cash, your cash on cash return and annual return will also be 6%. So for those of you that aren't up to snuff on what a cap rate is, hopefully we can put a link here to our video on what that is. But this analysis assumes you know what a cap rate is here. One common misconception, probably the biggest misconception around negative leverage, is comparing the interest rate to the cap rate. And while that is a useful, it's really just a smell test because you really, it's imperative that you use the loan constant in your calculation of negative leverage. And the loan constant takes into account the amortization of the loan terms as well. So loan constant. So if your loan is interest only with no amortization, your loan constant will be the same in the interest rate. So in those scenarios, you can simply use the interest rate. That said, if your loan amortizes, a quick and easy way to determine the loan constant is by calculating the payment and dividing that by the loan amount. So your formula for loan constant here is just simply your loan constant equals your loan payment over your loan amount. So couples of scenarios of loan constant. One thing to note here is the longer the AM, the less impact it will have on the loan constant. So a couple of examples, a 6.5% interest rate with a 20-year amortization has a loan constant of 8.95%. But a 6.5 interest rate deal with a 25-year AM has an 8.1% loan constant, which is an 85 basis point difference. And then a 6.5% interest rate loan with a 30-year AM has a loan constant of 7.58. And that's only a 52 basis point difference between 30 and 25, whereas that same 5-year difference between 25 and 20 is an 85 basis point difference. And this is why I put in there, the longer the AM, the less impact it will have on the loan constant. So when looking at this and solving for this, I look to the band of investment method formula. And the band of investment technique is a method of estimating the overall cap rate by calculating the weighted average of your capitalization, your debt and equity, for the components of the total property investment. So the band of investment method is also, it's what appraisers use. It's a method they use to determine cap rates on deals. If any of you have ever read an appraisal, an appraiser typically uses 3 different methods to determine their cap rate. And while this is their formula for using cap rate, if you decode the formula and back into it, you can solve for an equity component of it, which is what we're doing here today. So when applying an anticipated cap rate to the loan terms, so that's to say, okay, if I were to pay this cap rate and you know your loan terms, if the loan constant of your loan terms is greater than the equity component, you have negative leverage. And that is the cost of your debt is higher than you're able to pay on your equity. So this kind of sounds complicated. I'm going to show a model here and we're going to make it much simpler for you all. Here's our rudimentary model I've put together to help calculate this. Some of you Excel whizzes out here, I'm sure you can cook up a better model, but rudimentary one here that we've put together. So in this scenario, I've got to deal with an NOI of 550, and we're looking at buying at a cap rate of 6.5%. So I need to come up with my max loan amount in this scenario. So I've come up with a required debt service coverage, minimum debt service coverage of 1.25. And that gives me a max payment that I can pay, max payment that I can have of 440 to qualify for this loan amount. So as you will see here, these payments are lit up red right now. And that's because I've got my loan amount at 70%. Let me back that down to 65. And yeah, a lender may come in and meet you somewhere at max loan amounts of maybe 67, 68, but I'm going to use even increments for this deal. So at a 65% loan amount and a 30-year AM, my max payment is below, or my payment's below the max payment. And so I can use this loan, and that comes to that loan constant of 7.58 that we had in the presentation. Now, note in here that this same amount of leverage at a 65% loan amount and 25-year AM, my max payment, my payment is actually over my max payment. So I actually can't even do this deal at a 25-year AM. This deal would require me getting a 30-year AM. And so in this scenario, let's just say I've got equity returns of 8% in here. Well, my band of investment method backing into what my cap rate is, or showing my cap rate, that's above the 6.5 I was going to pay. So I really need to come back here and solve for what if I were to pay this 6.5. So I'm going to simply come in here and do a quick goal seek in this formula. I'm going to set my cap rate in this deal because the information that I have, remember, are my loan constant that's given to me by calculating my max payment, and then the anticipated cap rate I'm going to pay. And what I'm going to solve for are, under these scenarios, what would be my equity returns or my cash on cash returns, my ongoing returns, all things considered equal. And look at this. So this comes up to an equity return of 4.52%. And the fact that that's less than 7.58, that's actually less by a factor of negative 3.06%. That indicates my negative leverage. So by that equity return component being less than the loan constant, if I were to pay 6.5%, that is at these loan terms, which are the loan terms that I can get in the market today, I actually have negative leverage on this deal. And so, okay, why is this important? So for those of you guys that have capital requirements of cash on cash requirements of maybe 6%, or maybe in your deals you have a preferred return of 8%. Well, if this equity return component is lower than those required percentages, given these loan factors, you actually won't be able to achieve those on an ongoing basis, right? And so let's just say I had a preferred return of 8% that I was hoping to hit on my deal, and the market has set my loan terms. So if I have equity returns of 8%, note that this went green from red, I no longer have negative leverage. If my returns were at 8%, I would have to pay a 7.72 cap on this deal with these loan terms to achieve that. Now, let's say I had a cash on cash return component of 6%. I actually still have negative leverage here, and that's okay. But to achieve my required cash on cash, I need to pay just over a 7% cap rate on this deal. So what's interesting is, let's go back to an 8% pref. For those of you that are in a value add scenario saying, yeah, but I'll decompress out to a higher cap rate, I can go in at my 6.5 on this deal. To achieve a year one, or to achieve, so not even what you've negatively accrued in that value add period, but to achieve that 8% ongoing pref, you actually have to get NOI growth of 19%, which is pretty significant. So you have to have NOI, true NOI growth of 19%. Now think of that in terms, if you were to buy a retail deal or an industrial deal that maybe has a lease in place with only 2 or 3% bumps on an annual basis, it'll be tremendous undertaking to get to that 19%. So you may accrue substantial negative leverage or backed equity returns during that period. So again, this isn't the end all be all. A cap rate is a snapshot in time. This is how you determine negative leverage on a deal. But keep in mind, what equity returns will I actually achieve over my the course of this investment? That would require you to actually do a discounted cash flow analysis and do an analysis for all of the years that you plan on owning your deal, putting your reversion analysis and backing all that into a discount rate, which is kind of a lost art today. and something that people are doing more and more of. I think we have a recent blog post, hopefully we can put the link here, on discount rates and speaks to discount cash flow. But in terms of what is negative leverage and what is negative leverage out of the gate, this is a great example for you all. So hopefully this has been helpful. Feel free to reach out if we can be of any further help. Happy to share these resources. We'll post this presentation, the slideshow, and then happy to share this model with you all. And as always, feel free to reach out on anybody on our team if we can be of any help with that. Thanks, everybody.